afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another bout of Propagandacast news with your host, Imperial Dane. We're looking at an update to the Commander Revamp mod. Well, another one. The last one was pretty short. Basically, just last two Stormtroopers getting buffed because initially they're pretty lackluster. They feel better. I'm not 100% sure on them now. They basically got booby traps and just more accuracy. So we'll see what happens here with the 1.3 changes. Overall, Armor Company, the sort of basically go from 4 to 5 flat out. They don't get advanced U2 anymore, meaning they're now a 5-man squad with 280 manpower. That certainly means a lot of things. A, to become tougher, they do more damage straight away, plus of course to repair faster. Like, there's a lot of advantages to this. So that's a pretty substantial buff to assault engineers in general. Then you get elite vehicle crews, which the cost is made a lot cheaper, but they only get 2 Thompsons instead of 4, but still they gain the other bonuses, which include, you know, faster repair speeds and faster veterancy gains. So that's kind of big. Mechanized, they're basically straight up dodging the buffing the dodge truck, not dodging the buff truck. That's the last thing they're doing here. They are not dodging any buff trucks. Oh boy, they are not dodging any buff trucks. Quite the opposite, they're buffing the dodge truck. It gets a lot faster to build. I definitely feel like that's a bit weird. More importantly, they're actually buffing the machine gun upgrade on it, which, I mean, it's already pretty powerful to just say most infantry units in, and I feel like the machine gun on top doesn't need to be any better, but that's straight up what they're doing for the most part. Like, they're shielding down the cooldown duration, meaning for example it just basically shoots fast here, and again rate of fire multiply just basically goes up, so it just shoots overall faster at all ranges. It basically mostly means that the longer to mid ranges it's going to be doing more damage, whereas short range it pretty much changes nothing. So in that sense it just gets better at wiping out units that are treating them might actually have a chance of escaping. They have less of a chance of escaping now, so that's pretty big. And they're basically adding back the mortar half track, basically meaning there's going to be some extra stuff added to the doctrine, because now they're also adding in the cavalry riflemen, which are basically sort of a unit from the campaign. The Ardennes Assault, though I don't quite think they're in this use, but basically they're 5-man squad, 3 manpower with 3 grease guns and 2 Thompsons. I mean, they get a lot of sort of close to mid-range firepower, they're mostly close. They get smoke grenades, anti-tank satchel, covering fire, and basically suppresses the enemy unit for the most part. I mean, it doesn't directly set suppression. Basically, they get accuracy penalty and they, you know, can only walk. For the most part, that's what we like to call suppression. So basically, it's a suppressive fire ability on them, and they can basically upgrade with a BAR bazooka, and then on top of that, they basically sort of get a bunch, you know, veterancy bonuses like that. So that's pretty big. I mean, Mechanized Company now essentially, for all intents and purposes, gets a lot of new units. Like, you get units in, you got the dodge truck, you get the half track, you get the mortar, and then you get the cavalry riflemen. That's quite a bit. Plus, I believe the half track, which you can call in, still has the assault units crewing it, so you basically, you know, get that as well. So yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I feel like they might be pushing Mechanized Company here a bit too far, personally. Of course, I have to see how they work out, but it's starting to look a bit like, you know, Pushmas. For the British tactical support, the artillery cover is now available as an ability at either converted structures or upgraded force assemblies. I mean, you can still get it, but you can't just call it in where you want to. It now sort of has, you know, sort of more limited range, which means your opponent can then target these structures to counter it. And the area supply now gives you British a mortar. No. I mean, in a sense, they need the mortar. The problem is they still have the mortar emplacement as well. I mean, it feels like they're just holding so much flexibility to the Allies now, so, you know, compensate for the issues. The problem is, so far, it does not look like they're nerfing this stuff that was meant to, you know, make up for these things. So, I'm starting to get a bit worried here. And then British artillery, Valentine now requires less, but now can't observe quite as long, and nor can it see through units in the fog of war. But it can also move while doing it, so it basically is no longer the infrared half-track, but as a tank. Moving on to NKVD Rifle Disruption, Conscripts can no longer merge with it, it becomes harder to kill, and basically stand your ground, fight to the death, basically become free. I wonder if they do that for the Assault Storm Officer for the Oberkommand West Breakthrough Doctrine. Scorched Earth, now basically it happens right away, and it actually lasts longer, meaning it's sort of, you know, you're more incentivized to actually use it. It's certainly nastier that way. And then Shock Troopers basically get cheaper. They basically get better and cheaper. Oh, no. And then we get to the Stormtroopers. They now basically just heal automatically out of combat. Great. And now they can stealth through cover. Basically like, you know, Fallschirmjägers. which of course means you can sing about with them more, though I kind of wish they had sort of an ambush ability as well, but then again they got tactical assault and all that, so you know, should work. We'll have to see how this works out. Again, I'm still not 100% sure Stormtroopers from my testing. I've also been having a lot of technical issues lately. The game keeps crashing when I try to enter a match at times, and I'm having a hard time finding out exactly what is the cause, by the way, so we'll see. Stugi gets a health buff and actually becomes harder to hit. Those are pluses. I wonder if they could apply this to the Stugi maybe as well. There's the harder to hit bit, not the health. It already has that health, and then it shoots a bit faster. As for the Orbital Commonwealth, the Jaeger Light Infantry now gets bonuses, basically. First strike, meaning they can actually strike out there. That's pretty powerful, particularly with their marksmanship rifles actually benefit from this. And apparently they become better versus units with the sniper rifle inside buildings, meaning they can be more useful in sort of tactics there as well. This is going to increase the utility of Overwatch and Scavenge. If your opponent decides to dig in, the Jaeger Light Infantry is going to be quite helpful in clearing out any dug-in infantry. This is, alongside the first strike bonuses, actually a pretty substantial buff to the Jaeger Light Infantry, by the way. Jaeger, not Jaeger. I am Jaeger, the barbarian. I have come with my G43 to slay the Russian and the American and the Brit. Arr. For they killed my father. Arr. I don't know. Yeah, it's like Jaeger, the light infantry, barbarian. And then Sturmtiger, basically its AoE gets changed. It gets nerfed basically, but basically now gets a lot of suppression. And basically now destroys most ambient structures like this, neutral buildings, you know, houses, all that. Hits, it dies. Panzer Commando, would say, gets a more substantial buff. A, the artillery is actually instant. That's big. 2, it actually increases the main gun accuracy by 10%. That means Panzer IVs, Panthers, King Tigers, all that benefits a lot. That's huge. And it actually doesn't quite nearly as many command points. I mean, Panzer Commander is a huge buff. I mean, this is some substantial stuff there alongside Jaeger, the light infantry barbarian, and then they further buff emergency repairs, so it now restores even more health. The problem is, it's still pretty damn expensive, and you know, still has, you know, some downsides to it. But I mean, overall, again, I'm a bit worried about some of these changes. I mean, again, I don't mind cavalry rifle and all, but I just feel like they're increasingly just stacking mechanized company very hard. And similarly, the British there with the mortar, it also feels a bit like they might be stacking a bit too hard. I mean, the rest looks pretty good, though I'm also a bit worried about the shock troopers. A bit worried, just a bit. I'd certainly like some, increasingly, some, you know, undoing of the bomb grenade nerf at this rate, because otherwise things are really going to get nasty. But I mean, overall it looks promising, though again, some worries. So there you go, those are the 1.3 changes. We'll, of course, look forward to more changes happening. Of course, what happens after this, feel free, of course, to try it out yourself. And, you know, if you got any good matches with it, send them to me at propagandacaster@gmail.com. This is Imperial signing off. You all a wonderful audience, and see you all another time for another video. Cheers.